Title as a symbol. The story is called The Lagoon, and title is always a meaningful element of text. Its semantic radius comprises a whole text and is a helpful part of concept formation. The lagoon implicitly expresses the idea, concept of the story. So what can the lagoon symbolize in the story? About symbolism in the story, description. Description usually creates images in the reader's mind and enhances the story. In what way does the description reflect the character's emotional inner state? Pay attention how Conrad describes Malay forests. The forests, somber and dull, stood motionless and silent on each side of broad stream. Why does Conrad employ the following adjectives: somber, dull, or the following nouns: gloom, blackness, darkness? These words create certain images and emotional state for the reader. Do they create any symbolism as well in the story? Do they symbolize Arsad's inner state? Why is Arsad's heart dark? What is his inner conflict? Pay attention to the passages where Conrad describes the sunset. The white man came out of the hut in time to see the enormous conflagration of sunset put out by the swift and stealthy shadows that, rising like a black and impalpable vapor above the treetops, spread over the heaven, extinguishing the crimson glow of floating clouds and the red brilliance of departing daylight. In a few moments, all the stars came out above the intense blackness of the earth, and the great lagoon, gleaming suddenly with reflected lights, resembled an oval patch of night sky flung down into the hopeless and abysmal night of the wilderness. Write out the emotive vocabulary that creates images and emotional state for the reader and sets a certain kind of tone. Pay attention to the passages where Conrad describes the sunrise. The sun appeared unclouded and dazzling, poised low over the water that shone smoothly like a band of metal. The sun had risen, the mist lifted, broke into drifting patches, vanished into thin flying wreaths, and the unveiled lagoon lay, polished and black, in the heavy shadows at the foot of the wall of trees. A white eagle rose over it with a slanting and ponderous flight, reached the clear sunshine, and appeared dazzlingly brilliant for a moment, then soaring higher became a dark and motionless speck before it vanished into the blue as if it had left the earth forever. Determine Conrad's style from the passage presented above. Identify particular word choices, figurative language, and different language devices. What influence do they exert on readers' emotions? What do the sunset and sunrise symbolize? When Diamelen dies, morning light begins to drive out the darkness of the forest. Does it signify a change in Arsad? Pay attention how the author describes the lagoon. Here and there, near the glistening blackness of the water, a twisted root of same tall tree showed amongst the tracery of small ferns, black and dull, writhing and motionless, like an arrested snake. The short words of the peddlers reverberated loudly between the thick and somber walls of vegetation. Darkness oozed out from between the trees, through the tangled maze of the creepers, from behind the great fantastic and unstirring leaves, the darkness mysterious and invincible, the darkness scented and poisonous of impenetrable forests. The men poled in the shoaling water. The creek broadened, opening out into a wide sweep of a stagnant lagoon. Do you think that in describing the lagoon as motionless like an arrested snake, black, dull, dead, mysterious, stagnant. The narrator is also describing the life of Arset and Dimelin. Several passages contrast darkness with light, such as in a few moments all the stars came out above the intense blackness of the earth, and the great lagoon, gleaming suddenly with reflected lights, resembled an oval patch of night sky flung down into the hopeless and abysmal night of the wilderness. Does this contrast symbolize anything? Can it symbolize Arset's spiritual change? A white eagle rose over with a slanting and ponderous flight, reached the clear sunshine, and appeared dazzlingly brilliant for a moment. Then, soaring higher, became a dark and motionless speck before it vanished into the blue, as if it had left the earth forever. What does the eagle symbolize in the story? Does the boat symbolize anything in the story? Critics also speak about symbols and contrasts of steel and movement, water and fire in the story. Find passages and discuss their symbolic meaning.